I always thought the dog park was the one place no one could ruin. Just a patch of fenced-in grass, some squeaky tennis balls, and a dozen happy dogs running wild. But then she showed up. One woman with a clipboard, a pair of oversized sunglasses, and a vendetta against my golden retriever. She claimed he was a threat to the neighborhood. Filed complaints. Talked to the HOA. Had him banned from the park. But what she didn't realize was that her Facebook profile was public. And what I found there? Let's just say she wasn't exactly following her own rules. My name's Riley. I live in a quiet suburban neighborhood where most people just want to mow their lawns, water their plants, and be left alone. Nothing fancy, just middle-class peace with a splash of HOA weirdness every now and then. I work from home, which means my dog, Cooper, is basically my coworker. He's a 3-year-old golden retriever with more personality than half the people I've worked with. Friendly to everyone. Never aggressive. Obsessed with squirrels, belly rubs, and stealing socks like it's his full-time job. Every morning at 7:30 sharp, I'd leash him up and head to the neighborhood dog park. It's this open grassy area surrounded by a white vinyl fence. Nothing special, but it's fenced in, close to home, and Cooper loved it. We had our usual crowd too. There was Sandy and her 2 dachshunds, Joe with his huge Saint Bernard named Nacho, and this older woman named Judy, who always brought dog treats for everyone's pup. It was one of the only places where neighbors actually talked. People shared training tips, vented about work, and swapped vet recommendations. It was easy. Cooper got his exercise. I got a little social time and sunshine before settling in for the workday. Nobody ever fought, and the only real issue we had was when Nacho accidentally knocked over a toddler trying to chase a ball. So yeah, we were living in dog-loving, community-oriented bliss. Until Karen arrived. The first time I noticed her, it was a Wednesday. I remember because it was trash day, and Cooper always tries to protect our bins from the garbage truck. We arrived at the dog park a little after 7:30, like usual. Cooper bounded in, tail wagging like a metronome on caffeine. Sandy waved from the bench with her 2 dachshunds napping under her feet. Judy, our unofficial dog grandma, was handing out treats with her usual smile. Everything was normal until I saw a woman standing just outside the fence. She looked stiff. Blonde bob, large sunglasses, arms crossed, so tight it looked painful. No leash. No dog. Just watching. Not with curiosity or affection, more like she was scanning for violations. At first, I figured maybe she was new. People sometimes came to check it out before bringing their dogs. But she just stood there. No interaction. No smile. No move to enter the gate. The next day, she was back. Same spot. Same outfit, more or less. Still no dog. This time, she had a notebook. I watched her scribble something after Cooper barked during a game of tug. Weird, sure, but not illegal. On day 3, I decided to say something. Because honestly, it was creeping me out. Morning, I said, trying to be friendly. You checking out the park? Her eyes didn't even move behind the glasses. I live nearby, she said, tone clipped. Some people let their animals behave like wild beasts in here. I'm documenting. Documenting what exactly? Incidents, she replied. Noise levels. Owner behavior. Unsafe conditions. I blinked.
Right.
So, are you with the city or? She cut me off. I'm a resident, she said, tapping her notebook. And I take community standards seriously. Then she turned and walked away like we'd just concluded a business meeting. I turned back toward the park, eyebrows raised. Sandy mouthed, "Who the heck was that?" I shrugged, but I couldn't shake the weird vibe. Over the next week, she kept showing up. Same routine. She never came inside the gate. Just stood near the fence, watching, writing. She stared the longest at Cooper. He wasn't doing anything unusual, just chasing balls, roughhousing with Nacho, laying in the grass like a furry sack of potatoes. One morning, As I was filling Cooper's water bowl, she muttered loud enough for me to hear, "Some dogs don't belong off-leash." I looked up. She was staring right at me. I couldn't tell if it was a threat or just judgment, but either way it felt pointed. Then the flyers appeared. Bright yellow sheets, duct-taped to the bulletin board outside the park gate. Attention! Dog park incidents on the rise. Please report all unruly or aggressive dog behavior to the HOA immediately. No signature. No details. But the wording? Unruly. Aggressive. It was meant to scare people. And it worked. The next few mornings there were fewer dogs. Fewer owners. More leashes staying on. You could feel the tension creeping in. Then 2 days later, I got an email from the HOA board. Subject line: Formal complaint, Cooper, Golden Retriever. The message was brief. Someone had reported Cooper as being unpredictable, overly dominant, and intimidating to smaller dogs. I stared at my screen in disbelief. Cooper? The dog who once cried because he got stuck behind a couch cushion? I didn't reply to the email right away. I sat there rereading it, thinking maybe I missed something, like maybe it was meant for someone else, or maybe the HOA had sent it to the wrong address. But no. It mentioned Cooper by name, even referenced his overly enthusiastic play behavior. That's how they described him, playing fetch too hard with a Labradoodle. It felt ridiculous. Still, I sent back a calm reply. Cooper has never shown aggression at the park. He's fully vaccinated, neutered, and has a long history of positive socialization. Could I request more detail on the complaint? The HOA didn't respond, but the emails kept coming. Over the next week, I received 2 more complaints. One claimed Cooper lunged at a toddler near the park gate, which was completely impossible since dogs weren't even allowed outside the fenced area without a leash. Another said Cooper intimidated other pets with size and dominance. He's a Golden Retriever. He once backed away from a Yorkie wearing a tutu. The whole thing felt surreal and clearly targeted. Meanwhile, things at the park got cold, literally and socially. Sandy stopped showing up. Judy still came, but kept conversations short. Even Joe, who used to talk my ear off, gave me a stiff nod and moved to the opposite side of the fence. At first, I thought maybe it was just awkwardness. People hate conflict, and no one wanted to be caught in the middle of some HOA drama. But then I overheard something that made it clear. This wasn't awkwardness. This was coordinated. I had just finished tossing the ball for Cooper and was refilling his water bowl when I heard 2 women talking near the gate. She said the guy with the Goldens ignoring warnings. One whispered, "The HOA might ban him," the other said. I froze. Ban him? What warnings? I hadn't even received a single reply. That night, I logged into our HOA's online portal. I rarely used it, but I wanted to see if anything had been posted about new dog park rules. And there it was, a discussion thread titled, "Concerns about Dog Behavior in Community Park." The original post was anonymous. But the tone? I recognized it immediately. Some owners believe friendliness excuses recklessness. That's not how safe communities operate. I've observed consistent violations and reported them accordingly. Replies were mixed. Some people said they never had a problem. Others chimed in with vague agreement, but no actual incidents. And then, buried halfway down the page, someone posted, "Is this about that Golden Retriever guy? I've seen his dog. Not aggressive. Just playful. Feels like a witch hunt." The comment got downvoted. Hard. Something was happening behind the scenes, and whoever was behind it was working overtime to turn the community against me. The next morning, I arrived at the park early. Earlier than usual. I wanted to see if she'd show up again. And like clockwork, there she was. Clipboard this time. Notepad gone. She paced near the fence, lips pressed tight, making notes every time a dog barked. I took a deep breath and walked over. "Hey," I said, calm but firm. "I noticed you've been documenting a lot. Any chance we could talk about your concerns directly?" She didn't look up, didn't pause. I've already spoken to the HOA, she said coolly. This isn't personal. Sure feels personal, I said. You've never spoken to me, never interacted with my dog, but you've filed at least 3 complaints. She paused her writing, finally turning her head slightly. Some people don't belong in shared spaces, she said. Your dog is a problem. And if you can't see that, maybe you're the problem too. She turned and walked away without another word. That was the moment I stopped brushing it off. That was the moment I decided to push back. Because if she could lie to the HOA about Cooper, what else was she hiding? After that last encounter, something in me snapped. I wasn't going to be bullied out of my own neighborhood. Not by someone who didn't even bother to learn my name, but seemed hell-bent on ruining my life over a dog that literally shared treats with strangers' kids. So I did what any reasonable, slightly sleep-deprived millennial would do. I Googled her. The HOA directory didn't list her name, but I remembered she said she lived 2 streets over. And her mail had been sticking out of her bag once when she leaned over to yell at someone's beagle, S. Burnett. I searched S. Burnett HOA and up popped a board meeting document from 3 years ago listing her as a community standards consultant. Not an official HOA rep, just one of those volunteers who loves rules a little too much. From there, it was easy. I looked up Samantha Burnett on Facebook, and jackpot. Her profile was public. Not all of it, but enough. Her bio read, dog mom, lover of order, passionate about public safety, proudly child-free. Weird flex, but okay. Her most recent public posts were what really got me. One video showed her filming through the dog park fence, me and Cooper in the background. Caption: this is the chaos they're defending. Just wait until something happens. There were others too. Screenshots of HOA complaints she'd written, boasting about how she knew how to word things so the board would act fast. And one particularly charming post. Golden retrievers are just Labradors with better PR, don't trust them. Especially the big ones. They're entitled dogs raised by entitled people. That one had a LOL smiley react from someone named Barb. I sat there for a long time just scrolling. It felt like seeing someone without their mask. This wasn't about Cooper. This was about her ego. Control. Maybe a power trip. Whatever it was personal now. Then I found what I didn't expect. Hypocrisy. A photo from 6 months earlier. Samantha standing inside a different dog park. Her arm was around a huge German Shepherd. No leash. No harness. The dog had its front paws on a bench and was clearly not under control. In the comments, he looks so sweet but so loud. Samantha's reply, yes, he gets excited but he's harmless. He just needs his space. Excuse me? So she used to own a large, excitable dog. And now she's going after my dog for doing the same things? That photo was still public. And suddenly I had an idea. The HOA held their monthly community meeting that Thursday night. Usually these things were sleepy affairs, budget updates, gardening complaints, someone griping about fence height. But this time, I made sure it wouldn't be boring. I printed out everything. Screenshots of her Facebook posts. The video of her filming the park. That photo of her German Shepherd standing unleashed on a bench, timestamp and all. I even highlighted a few of her comments for extra flair. Especially the golden retrievers are just Labradors with better PR one. That one was a gem. The meeting started off dry, as expected. The board talked about new mulch for the playground and a proposal for repainting curb numbers. Then came the open forum portion. I raised my hand. Mark, the board president, nodded. Go ahead, Riley. I stood up holding my folder. I'm here about the recent complaints filed against me and my dog, Cooper. I began. I've received 3 emails from the HOA describing him as dangerous, dominant, and aggressive. That's not only false, it's completely fabricated. A few people in the room shifted in their seats. Mark gave a cautious nod. We've received some concerns, yes. but we haven't taken any final action. I understand, I said, flipping open the folder. But I think you all deserve to know who's behind the complaints and what her real motives are. That's when I clicked the small remote I'd brought. The screen at the front of the room changed. A slide popped up, a screenshot of Samantha's public Facebook post, the one where she filmed Cooper at the park, captioned, "This is the chaos they're defending." A few gasps. I kept going. "This is Samantha Burnett," I said calmly. "She's not an official HOA board member. She has no dog currently. And yet, she's been stalking the park for weeks, filing anonymous complaints, and trying to have my dog banned." Another slide, the shepherd photo. Samantha, smiling with her large off-leash dog. She used to own a large dog. She praised him for being loud and playful. Yet now, she's targeting others for the same behavior. Here she is, at a different park, allowing her dog off-leash. The murmurs started to rise. Someone in the back said, "Wait, I've seen her filming too." She also publicly refers to certain breeds as entitled and calls their owners reckless. She's using personal bias, not real incidents, to manipulate the HOA into acting on her behalf. Mark blinked. I wasn't aware of this. "I've never received a direct complaint from a fellow dog owner," I continued. "No one's approached me in person. It's all come from her, and it's based on opinions, not facts." At that point, Samantha, sitting in the back row, stood up. Her face was bright red. "This is a gross violation of privacy," she snapped. "You had no right to dig into my personal life." "Your posts are public," I replied evenly. "And you're accusing others publicly, so I think the community has a right to see your pattern of behavior." "You're deflecting," she barked. "Your dog is a problem." "You've never interacted with my dog," I said. "Not once. You've stood outside the fence, taking notes like you're running surveillance. That's not concern. That's obsession." Mark cleared his throat. "Okay, that's enough." He turned to Samantha. "We'll need to review these materials. But I can say right now we won't be taking action against Cooper." Several people clapped. Not obnoxiously, but quietly. Firmly. The way people clap when they've just witnessed something overdue. Samantha didn't say another word. She grabbed her bag, muttered something under her breath, and walked out. The next morning, she didn't show up at the park. Or the day after. Or any day since. After that night, it was like a fog lifted. The complaints stopped. The emails from the HOA went silent. And more importantly, people started talking to me again, really talking. Sandy came back to the park with her dachshunds the next morning. She brought coffee, handed me one, and said, "I'm sorry I kept my distance. I didn't know what was going on, but I should have asked." I just smiled and told her I understood. Because I did. This whole thing had made people nervous. No one wanted to be the next target. And it turns out, it's easier to believe a lie when it's delivered with fake authority and a clipboard. But over the next week, things shifted. More dogs. More people. Less tension. Joe let Nacho tackle Cooper like nothing had happened. Judy baked homemade peanut butter dog treats and handed them out like peace offerings. Even Mark, the HOA president, stopped me during one of our walks and said, "I've been on this board 6 years. That was the most satisfying meeting I've ever sat through." We laughed. And honestly, I needed that laugh. I won't pretend like it didn't leave a scar, though. For a while, I caught myself scanning the edges of the park, half expecting to see Samantha lurking behind a bush with a GoPro. But she never came back. Word got around, not just in our HOA, but in neighboring ones too. A friend of mine in Oakwood said Samantha had been quietly, uninvited, from their community watch group after screenshots from the meetings started circulating. She wasn't banned. She wasn't fined. But her power? Gone. And as much as part of me wanted to press further, I realized something important. Sometimes exposure is justice. Sometimes just having the truth out in the open in front of witnesses in plain view is enough. I still bring Cooper to the park every morning. He still rolls in the mud. Still pretends he doesn't know how fetch works. Still charms strangers like he's running for office. And me? I'm still here too. Still part of the community. Still picking up poop bags and chatting with neighbors about flea meds and vet bills. Only now, I walk in a little taller. Not just because I stood up for myself, but because I remembered what communities are really about. Not fear, not control, but trust and accountability. Cooper still doesn't know what happened. But every time someone new throws him a ball, I like to think he senses it. That this little park of ours stayed safe, not just for him, but for everyone who just wants to be left alone to enjoy the sunshine. And maybe a few stolen socks along the way.